We're going to start with the Cavs move, the big splash that they made. Was it LeBron James? No, they don't need him. What they really needed was the EuroLeague MVP, Mario Hezonja, who was drafted into the league, 5 years ago?
10.
6? No, was it that long ago? Oh, my God.
Yes, it was
10 years ago?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought it was like 5 or 6 years ago. I don't know how I missed that. Oh, look at him now. He looks like he could be. Oh, man, what are we doing?
He's turning 32 this season. He turns 32 this season.
10 years ago, he was drafted in the league. He was not good first time around.
He was the 5th overall pick in the 2015 draft.
And can easily be categorized as a bust.
Yeah, he was not very good as an NBA player.
But he's a 2-time defending EuroLeague MVP, correct?
Yes, and I did because...
I don't know what that means. What does that mean, Mike? Does that mean like you're the best player in the G League?
No, the EuroLeague's better than the G League.
For sure. Yeah.
And it's the second. He plays for Real Madrid, or played for Real Madrid,
Right.
which is one of the premier international teams. The EuroLeague is the top international basketball conglomerate outside of the NBA. So to win the EuroLeague MVP means something.
So he's a good player.
Yes.
We just don't know what it's going to look like transferred to the NBA again.
Exactly. I kind of mentioned beforehand, he's a guy that could have stayed overseas and been a premier top 10 guy in the EuroLeague, MVP caliber, top 5 guy, rack up the accolades overseas.
Right.
For the next couple of years still, decided he wanted a chance to redeem his NBA arc, redeem his NBA career. He was incredibly young when he came over. Was under 20, turned 20 as an NBA player. You can see his career stats on the board, not particularly impressive for a guy who was drafted 5th overall. But the one nugget you need to know about Mario Hezonja before we talk about some other Plan B options for the Cavs after missing out on LeBron is Mario was not a three-point shooter during his time in the NBA. Over the course of his 5 NBA seasons, he shot just 31.9% from 3. I'll read you the year-by-year breakdowns on minimal volume. Averages for his career, just 2.5 three-point attempts per game. 35%, 30%, 33.7, 27.6, and 30.8. In his 4 seasons with Real Madrid, he shot and has become a much better three-point shooter, shooting 38.9% on catch-and-shoot threes by themselves, which he's 6'6", 6'7" with shoes. Athletically speaking, he's not the same athlete he was coming out. But if he can be a viable 36, 37% three-point shooter, and that's just on catch and shoot, so even hopefully he improves that with better players around him and more open looks playing alongside Don and James and Evan and such, he could be a guy that contributes in sparing minutes. But when you start with LeBron James as the eye in the sky and end up with Super Mario Herzonja,
he's nothing more than a rotational player, correct?
At best right now, yes.
All right.
I mean, the last time the Cavs went to the EuroLeague, they found a coach that got them to the NBA Finals.
I knew it.
So, there's hope.
How'd that work out for us?
He got him to the NBA Finals, Jay. What else do you want? David Blatt, coach of the NBA Finals. And he had a lot of banners hanging over him. He was quick to tell you about in the EuroLeague. He's coached in many big pressure games.
Analytically, this is a great move.
All right, I think we got them all out of the way now.
So that's the Mario Hezonja signing. Minimum deal, $2.8 million contract, 1-year deal. We've talked about some other Plan B options, and I spent a lot of time this weekend scouring the free agency market, coming up with some trade names and targets that we may not have mentioned yet that the Cavs could pivot to now without LeBron James in the pursuit of LeBron James. I do not mention in this list the P.J. Washington, Daniel Gafford, Najee Marshall deals that we've talked about in the past. We're not going to get into those because we've already discussed them at length, and the players that would be involved in those deals are still on the Cavs. Those deals are still on the table. But my favorite move, I think the one move that could salvage this Cavs offseason the most, wouldn't completely erase it, is a little 3-team deal that looks like this. Jason, Zach, Jay, I'm curious what you guys think. The Cavs in this deal will be trading Dennis Schroeder to the Hornets, who have a giant trade exception, who could take on his salary, $14.8 million, without having any endurance to the cap because of the LaMelo Ball trade exception they got. The Cavs would also send Sam Merrill to the Denver Nuggets and a second-round pick. The Nuggets, after re-signing the offer sheet for Spencer Jones, are well into the second apron. They are looking to get under the second apron so they could re-sign Peyton Watson, their restricted free agent. So you send Sam Merrill to Denver, and you get Cam Johnson and his expiring $23 million contract back. The Cavs would save about $1 million on this. It is all cap compliant, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh aprons. It all works for all 3 teams. And essentially the Nuggets trying to shed some salary so they can re-sign their own guys would be giving up the best player in the deal in Cam Johnson, get a shooter in Sam Merrill back, pick up a second-round pick. And the Hornets, who just drafted Christian Andersen, a German point guard in the first round this year, could bring in Christian Andersen's favorite all-time player, Dennis Schroeder, as a bit of a mentor on his final year of his deal. The Cavs would end up with Cam Johnson, a legitimate 6'8" wing who could shoot. That is my favorite salvageable move that works for all.
You need to get out more, Mike.
I spent a lot of time out this weekend.
I literally cannot
Mike had a
believe-
great weekend. Trust me.
I cannot. Wait a minute. What?
Trust me. We were texting. Mike had a great weekend.
When did you cook this up? And why would you cook this up?
Well, I want to give my friend Luke over at Real Cavs Fans a shout out because I did text him and say, "What's your favorite deal?" And he mentioned Cam Johnson in the past, and then we kind of concocted this.
Your
all
favorite
together.
deal became, or his?
No,
favorite deal became-
we concocted this kind of layout together. But he's really good with the salary cap stuff. I didn't realize that the Schroeder Christian Andersen connection was there.
I like that.
It makes sense for all three teams. This
I
actually
agree.
makes sense
I
for
think
all three
I think
teams.
it helps everybody.
And
but
if the Cavs
I
came
would
out
like
of this
that.
offseason with Cam Johnson, it's not LeBron. It's not LeBron
No,
James.
It's not even close.
But would you feel decent about
I would.
that
Yeah.
outcome?
I
Yeah.
would. I think that makes us better.
I mean,
and that's the whole point.
Cam was the guy Mike and I were talking about a couple of years ago before they traded for Hunter. That was the target, and the price I think was a little bit too high. I'm trying to remember. Is that what it was? The price was high, or he wasn't available? I don't remember now.
They chose DeAndre Hunter over Cam Johnson. Those were the two targets, and they were able to get DeAndre Hunter for a much cheaper price than
Yeah.
Cam Johnson was from the
The
Nets.
Cavs have been linked to Cam Johnson since Mario Hezonja's first stint in the NBA. That's for sure.
That's actually
so this
a
goes
fact.
back a minute.
That's actually true.
So
Yeah.
let's pull it off. Let's finally make it happen.
My one concern there would be, okay, now you got rid of Merrill, who he wasn't very good in the playoffs, frankly, but has been,
Nice.
and you see when the best version of the Cavs, he's making shots. So in this,
Yes, but
this
he
scenario,
it
then,
wasn't. It didn't transfer at all when it counted.
you're either really counting on Cam Johnson or you're keeping Strus, which I don't know, given his contract status, is going to go that way. But it totally makes sense. I wouldn't have spent my weekend on it, but it totally makes sense.
Yeah, well, apparently he didn't.
It was listen. I'm a man of. I saw the Odyssey too, which took more time than anything else.
How was that?
We'll save that for the end of the show because
Okay.
we got a lot of thoughts on that. Some other names, some other Plan B options. We've heard DeMar DeRozan,
Yeah, I've heard
former
that.
All-Star.
Yep.
That does
late
not
in his
excite me.
career.
Former being the key word of that phrase.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't bad last season. He still averaged 18 points per game on Sacramento, but Sacramento needed somebody to score points.
Someone had to get him.
somebody was going to score.
Yep.
He's a name. Jonathan Kuminga is probably the most high-profile name who's been linked to the Cavs.
Yeah.
If they end up getting Kuminga, it will most likely be in a sign-and-trade scenario with Atlanta. In theory, you could send Strus to Atlanta, get Kuminga back, so the cap hit that Kuminga is going to get in his contract extension won't be as extreme. The free agency market, guys, it's barren. Like, there's
know it
not a
is.
lot.
Of course it is.
The
It's
two-
July
the two names.
27th.
Yeah.
The two names I'm going to mention is just possibilities. I'm not saying this makes the Cavs any better. Nobody they're getting at this point elevates the ceiling. But Nick Batum, who played for Kenny Atkinson on Team France internationally, is a guy with size, veteran presence, versatile defender. Used to be a really good defender. Now he's
Did Kenny like him?
Kenny's spoken highly of him. He coached him. Team France lost to Team USA in the gold medal game. Batum was a big contributor. He's old, not
Yeah.
the same player he was. And then I wanted to throw one crazy one out there. We talk about the Cavs maybe lacking a bit of a dog mentality at times. I am not a fan personally of this player's game. I don't think they don't need him. They don't have a need for another guard. What about bringing Russell Westbrook into the fold?
Oh god.
Oh, jeez.
That's where we're at, guys.
No, yeah,
That's
no.
where we're at. So
I've actually got a Cavs thought that hasn't been
Shoot.
said amid this. Jalen Tyson really took a leap last year in the
Yeah.
regular season, and then he was unplayable
Right.
for most of the playoffs.
But was that because Harden was what?
I don't
That's-
know, but
that's a
that's
big
something that
reason
needs to
for
be
it.
figured
I
out
think that's
for this
why,
team to take a
because
leap.
he just pick your poison. Which one do you want?
Why do you think that was, Mike?
I thought it had to do with Harden.
he's a guy that, he shot so well at the beginning of the season that he was due for some regression. I don't think he thinks he's a 50% three-point shooter, which is what he shot literally for the first half of the season.
Well, we knew that was going to come back.
I think Jalen Tyson's a guy that's best still with the ball in his hands, and he's a rhythm guy, especially early in games. Some of the best games he had, I go back to the Philadelphia game where he was the best player on the court against the 76ers, ironically. There was Darius didn't play. They featured him heavily in the game early and then started making some shots. Confidence was through the roof, and that's when Jalen Tyson is at his best. When James Harden got into the equation, how are you going to get James Harden the touches he needs, and Donovan the touches he needs, and Jared Allen the touches he needs, and Evan Mobley the touches he needs. And also, by the way, we need to incorporate Jalen Tyson early into the game plan so he gets confidence, as opposed to him becoming a spot-up shooter in the corner, where we talked about at length that fifth starter for the Cavs. Because of the needs for the other guys to have the ball, how often is he going to get involved? I just think Tyson's a guy who is better, and that's why I liked him coming off the bench last year, where you could use him more as a offensive initiator as opposed to just a stand in the corner and shoot kind of guy.
Right.
But when you make a trade and you go in, full championship caliber mode like the Sixers are now, edge comes development gets put on the back burner. And Jalen Tyson's development last year got put on the back burner.
We kind of saw that here.
Evan
They
Mobley.
traded for James Harden.
Evan
Mobley's the same thing.
We
Yes.
saw that here. And sometimes it's real. Like, I talked about the Sixers usage rate, or all 5 of the Sixers starters and their usage rate in the first hour of the show. Like, everybody's is going to have to go down. Some players might go down significantly. And Edgecombe probably is one of those guys who you want to see take that next step because he's got superstar ability. But, like, what now?
And you have to hope in the long run that as a second-year player in Edgecombe, sitting, observing, learning from LeBron on a day-by-day basis for a season, in the long run will be better for his career.
Yeah, but he also loses his inertia and
exactly.
his momentum.
And Tyson the same way, that learning from Harden in the big picture will be good for him, but it's hard for him to get involved and utilized and best utilized when so many of their guys higher on the totem pole have to get their touches, have to get their styles matched, and winning is your number one priority. So the development of young guys isn't there. But to Zach's point, the Cavs need a good Jalen Tyson. The Cavs need, and I cannot emphasize this enough, bold, underline, italicized, size 72 font, need Jalen Tyson to be a real legitimate contributor, not just for part of the season, for the entire season and a playoff run, if they're going to have any success.
Mike, if they played tomorrow, do you think they'd start him or bring him off the bench?
They better start him. Even though I don't think that's the best use of him, but they better start because they don't have another wing on the roster.
Jeez.
Yeah,
Here we are.
It's a wild. It's not done. It's July, but
you don't see a meaningful move out there, do you?
No, right.
If you do, please tell me.
Not until we get into the season. Not until we get into the season.
Okay.
I still think Jared Allen probably ends up being the odd man out here.
Yeah, you would think. It made the prospect of trading Evan Mobley reasonable when Mobley was hurt and Jared Allen had some games where I think one of them was against Detroit in the playoffs. Wasn't it his game 6 or game 7 just absolutely?
Mobley wasn't hurt, but game 7, Jared Allen was awesome.
Yeah,
both series.
He
was awesome.
Literally put the team on his back. Never thought I'd say that. And there were also stretches in the regular season when Mobley was out where Allen played, and Allen looked like, oh my God, is that what he could be if he didn't have to share with another big?
These are game 7 highlights, by the way, in case anyone forgot.
Yeah, but you know what? That guy, it was like when the Guardians hit 7 home runs last Monday and then proceeded to hit 30 with runners in scoring position for the last 4 games. That Jared Allen was the Guardians hitting 7 home runs in one game. And then the Jared Allen that we saw for much of the time after that was what we've seen with the Guardians. Like, I don't know why it's there. We saw it, but he can't consistently bring that. So yeah, I mean, if you have to move him to get something, I'm okay with that.
It's not a surprise that both Mobley and Allen's best stretches
come when the other one's not on the floor.
Well, yeah, in games, yes, but just over the course of their seasons.
Yes.
Jared Allen in February, Black History Month, Jared Allen put up those crazy numbers. That's when Mobley was hurt. Then when Mobley came back and Allen missed a few games, that was Mobley's best stretch. And a big reason of that is Harden likes the pick and roll situation. It's just a lot easier to run that. There's a lot more spacing when one big's out there because the other one can't shoot.
Right. So maybe this is the NBA universe saying, yeah, you're silly to have 2 bigs.
Maybe.
Okay, so if that's the case,
better hope it works.
If that's the case, and I'm of that mindset, do you think the Cavs would be better in moving Evan Mobley and getting a haul and hoping that Jared Allen can be the Jared Allen that we typically see when there's no Evan Mobley? Or are they better moving Jared Allen and getting whatever you're going to get for him, but now relying on Evan Mobley as your lone big and go it that way? Which is the more attractive route? I know you want to know what they're going to get for either player.
Well, just hear me out. Would I rather have a starting lineup of James Harden, Donovan Mitchell, Jaylen Brown, LeBron James, and Jared Allen?
Oh, well, yes.
Or, no, but that's Mobley for Brown was a real deal.
Right,
And if you make
right.
that deal, then maybe you get LeBron.
Yep.
Or would I rather have a starting lineup of Donovan Mitchell, James Harden, Herb Jones, Jalen Tyson, and Evan Mobley? It's a pretty easy decision to me.
Yeah, give me the first one.
Yeah.
And
I think that's the kind of return you get for, Herb Jones plus another bench guy and a pick. But
all this talk that we keep doing, it all comes back to what Jason said. Like, Evan Mobley, you are on the clock.
I tweeted this out.
That's it. Like, it's your team, essentially.
I tweeted this out.
Figure it out.
I'm curious what you guys think. Then we'll take a break and we'll come back with how this impacts LeBron's legacy. Koby Altman said, Evan Mobley's a franchise pillar. We're not moving him.
Yep.
All the pressure's on Evan
He may
Mobley.
die on that hill, but that's what he said.
And that's what I said. He's either going to be proven right and we'll all sound stupid, or he's going to be out of a job because he wouldn't make that move. I think it's as simple as that.
I agree with that, Mike. I think that's a very fair assessment. It's an interesting hill to die on. You have to think there's a lot more potential in there that hasn't been brought to the surface yet. And quite frankly, I'm not sure there is. I've never been as high on Mobley as you guys have.